Well, good day to all of you. Nice to have you along with us today. My name is Paul Gaucher. I'm one of the pastors here on staff, and I'm excited to talk with you a little bit today about the series that we're in. We're in the midst of the series Over the Fence, where we've been exploring what it means to reach over the fence into the lives of our friends, co-workers, family members. A little bit of a recap. On week one, Pastor Jeff helped us think again about evangelism, what it is and what it isn't. We discovered that evangelism is not preaching at people. Evangelism is not frightening them or talking them into a belief system. Rather, it's simply reaching into the lives of other people with genuine interest and care and friendship and love. In week two, Pastor Eric helped us to be challenged about digging deep, the biblical message of the good news of Jesus Christ, how we've been invited to live into an abundant relationship with God and how that impacts our relationships with others. In week three, Pastor Jeff invited us to look around. He helped us ask the question, where do we find people into whose lives we might reach? Well, we meet people in all kinds of ways, and Jeff provided an app for us. We reach out to people through affinity, through proximity, through pain, and through service. It was a great message that invited us to reach out to people that we may not ordinarily interact with. Week four, it was Paul Dean and Swen who taught us to reach out. Swen introduced us to the conversation stack, a very nifty way of being in conversation with people about the ordinary places and the ordinary things in our lives. This week, I was excited to help us open up to God's story in our lives. The story of God moving in and through us and being aware of that story. Just recently, I had an opportunity to fly to be with my dad for just a couple of days as he's recuperating from some things. And we, in our conversations together, talked about a lot of things. We shared a lot of stories together. We looked backward into our life history together, and we also looked forward to things that may be coming. And as those stories unfolded, it was easy to see God's hand in a lot of those stories, how God was with us through difficult times, high times, low times. It was interesting to see how God had met us in every turn in our life story together, how God used other people to meet us at just the right time. And it helped us to be aware of God's presence, God's story in our lives. Well, I'm convinced that each one of us does have a story to tell. Each one of us has a God story that is unfolding in our lives, where we consider the presence and the power, the mystery and the majesty of God in our lives. But telling that story is sometimes difficult. Oftentimes we shrink back from telling that story because we feel our story isn't dramatic enough, or it's just plain too simple. We might have even been taught early on that God's stories in our lives are just too private, and so we don't share them. We fear that people might laugh, or we wonder how people will react to our story. Friends, here's what I believe. God is at work in each one of us, and simply because of that, our story is worth telling. But here's the question. How do we tell that story? Well, this weekend, I laid out just a few simple steps, ways to get in touch with that story. First of all, to be open up to the big picture, sort of the 30,000-foot view. How has God been in our lives as we look back over the landscape of our lives from now all the way back to the beginning? Secondly, open up to the highs and lows, those good times and those challenging times. To be in touch with those stories, to give them their due power, but just to consider the highs and lows in our lives. And then thirdly, open up to how God met us in every one of those turns, or maybe how we feel that God didn't meet us. Then we're opening up to those who met us there. Who are the people that God put in our lives at just the right time? And together with God's presence, how did that begin to give us a new framework for understanding how God is taking us from this place to another place? And then finally opening up to sharing that story, to put all of those pieces together, the big picture, the highs and the lows, how God met us there, those whom God sent to us to meet us in our story. how do we share that story with others? When we open up to those things, we begin to craft that story that we can take to those reaching over the fence, this great relationship that God has given us to share together. Well, God bless you in your study. God bless you as you think about this, and God bless you as you open up to God's story in you.